Welcome, everybody, to the Heart of the Artist. I am your co-host, Whisper Poet. Got my co-host over there, Catalyst. So excited to introduce today's guest, Uncultured Asian in the house. Girl, thank you.
Hey, hey.
I was just talking about you before you came in the room, and I was saying, I think it was the day that I got on Instagram. I was in a live and you were in there and you were shooting fire. And I was like, wow, this woman is dope. She is absolutely amazing. I was a fan from day one. I am still a fan, and we're both so excited to have you here in this room. Thank you for being here with us. Been a little bit of a journey to get you here. You had some things going on, and so you're here today. It's fantastic.
Thank you. And I'm excited to be here too.
And a whole,
And
a whole like crew showed up to support you for your interview. It's fantastic.
thank you. I
Still
love
got them
y'all.
coming
We all
in.
family.
Still got them coming in. And it's definitely a credit to you. It shows how well respected you are in the poetry community, what a good friend you are to everyone, that all of these very esteemed poets are here to support you today. It says a lot. Talk to me about how you got started on Instagram in the poetry community specifically.
On Instagram. So let's take it back to 2 years before COVID. That's when I started performing, going to Busboy and Poets, first time poet, right? So didn't know what to do with my hands, didn't know how to stand, right? So I'm just on stage, really nervous, shaking like a chicken, right? And then COVID happened. And I took that as a sign as I should not be poeting because the whole world shut down when I had asked God to tell me, is what I'm doing purposeful? And then COVID happened. That's what I thought was my sign. So I took a step back. I never stopped writing though. I never stopped writing. I took a step back from performing, and then it was one of the hosts from Busboy and Poets, was telling me like, yeah, well, we're open now because COVID is done with, right? Well, not done, but it opened back up the world now. So, but at that time, my schedule at work was just crazy. I was finding myself working like 7 days a week. And then he told me, well, at least share somewhere. Why don't you just go on Instagram? And I was like, they have open mics on Instagram? He was like, yeah. I said, okay. He threw out some names to me, right? He told me about the Galaxy of Poets. So I followed them. Told me about Poets Playground. I followed them. Told me about Origin of Thoughts. I followed them. The very first live I went on Instagram was, I think it was Lyrical Brother. I think he's based out of Florida somewhere, I believe. My apology if I'm wrong. So I did that one. And then the second one I went on, it was Poets Playground. And what I did was I just requested in, right? Then Frizzy brought me up and I did a poem. And then momentarily, I don't know if it was the same day or the next day, I won a Clean Poet of the Week. Do you know what that did for my confidence level right there? And then fast forward now to be a host on the Poets Playground. That's amazing to me, right? A place where I actually won that, and like this journey. It's been like 2 years now, and the journey I've been on these past 2 years has just been phenomenal, both on virtually and in person.
One of the things I really appreciate about you is not only is your poetry fire, but you are also very good at analyzing poems, breaking down the poems, and giving really quality feedback to the people when they come into the live and share.
Oh,
And
thank you.
that's kind of a thing I think that can be hard for some people to have a balance, right? It seems like a lot of people are either good, really good at one, stronger at the other, but you really balance that really well.
Thank you. I
Have you
appreciate that.
studied formally? Have you studied writing formally?
I guess you can say that. I took the standard college courses as everyone else that's been in the college, but not as a profession. Um, I have studied different types of poetry. If you guys didn't know that there are several different forms of poetry, and I actually teach those forms at a youth group. They're mostly at-risk youth. They're in foster homes, and I teach these different forms of
Fantastic.
poetry to them for expression.
I love that. I love that.
You
So
know.
when did you start writing? Because this is like, obviously this is a gift that you have. When did this express itself first?
So funny story, right? So when I was younger, and I think I was like 8 or 9 years old, just like little girls. They had the diaries with the little key in it, right? And I don't know why they have the key in it because it doesn't really need a key. You can open up the diary without the key. Well, I had wrote in my diary and I told on myself. Um, I had I was a bad child. And so I put all the bad things I did on a day-to-day basis. And my mother found that diary. And my family's from the South. So,
You got a
spoiled a
whooping.
child.
You got a whooping. You did. See, that's why I never wrote in the diary. I never trusted it.
Yeah. So I wrote in a diary. She did end up giving me back the diary, right? I guess so I can write in it and sell on myself. There was this child in my, I think I was in I was in the fourth grade by this time. And he had gave me a kiss and I wanted to write it in my diary. But I didn't write that Sean gave me a kiss. I wrote that the horse gave me a kiss. And I didn't know what I was doing at that time. I was using metaphors as a way to cover my daily dwellings.
That does not surprise me at all that you used a poetic convention just like naturally without even knowing what you were doing. That does not surprise me in the least.
And I kept doing that, and eventually, like I think in middle school, I started writing poetry. I started taking songs of like rappers and R&B singers and making storylines based off of the lines that they would say in the song. Like I had like a whole entire campground of, had Bone Thugs and Harmony and Michael Jackson in it, and so real. Like I had them all on the campground just saying their little songs. And I had like a little story plot to it, and someone had took it from me and started sharing to everyone in the school, and it never got returned back to me. Yeah.
So what would you say is your first proper poem that you wrote? Was it
Ooh.
the Kiss poem?
Um, the very first poem I ever wrote,
Yeah.
I actually have memorized. Um,
Girl,
and
spit
it's a
it.
little, the I was 13 when I wrote my first actual poem. And a lot was going on, a lot that I was noticing about myself, right? I didn't always see race up until at this age. When it just started surfacing, I just started noticing the way I'm being treated, not only myself, but how everyone else around me was being treated too. So it's a little short poem, and it goes, crush the mentalities of Black and white power, fix the sociality of getting together. Those of us using hatred would never find happiness. Once we realize the real truth, we emphasize on life itself. Every day we pass thousands of people, never realizing we hurt their kind. But once it comes to mind, we'll try our best to forget the facts. That's what most do, ignore the truth. Thank you.
That does not surprise me in the least that the very first poem that came out of your pen was Fire, age 13. And you're talking about social justice issues and that you remember it. Like,
Yeah, I memorized that poem.
Anybody
Yeah.
that knows you on Insta, you're in a car. You're always in a car going somewhere, right?
That's
You're always in a car going somewhere, about to go to work, about to go do a
yeah.
live.
And y'all all be part of that because I done messed up a whole bunch of times in my car. That's how I memorize my pieces. So when y'all finally see those videos where I'm actually performing those same pieces.
And that you have an incredible memory. I mean, you have, because your work is typically pretty long. I mean, you don't do little short poems, right? And you
Mhm.
remember, like, I don't know, you're on some ginkgo biloba or something. I don't know what's up.
And it's not like I write a lot, but it's not every poem that I don't want to memorize every single poem that I write. It's certain ones. And now that I'm a performing poet, it's definitely it's based off of that too. A lot of it is based off what are the poems that I actually want more people to hear. And those are the ones that I want to put in fruition.
Absolutely. So if you had to guess, or maybe you even know, how many do you think you have memorized in total?
I have 12 poems memorized.
That is impressive. Like, I'm floored. I can't even remember one. Can't even remember one short one, like one short one. I can't even do it. So it is incredible. When you get up on stage to perform live, does that put a stressor on your memory, or have you now gotten so comfortable with that process that you got it?
At first, it did because my concentration level was watching everyone watching me.
Mhm.
And I had to flip that. I had to change that mindset and I had to look at it a different way. I had to remember that I am the one that's looking at everybody. So it's different. Once I put myself out of that, then, it can, I concentrate more when I'm performing, when I have the piece memorized versus reading from my phone.
Do you keep your phone with you as a backup, like just in case?
No, depending on what the poem that I'm doing. Like for example, I have a piece that's my signature piece, Uncultured, right? Carrying a name like Uncultured Asian, everyone in that room is going to wonder why I'm calling myself that, right? There's no one else in the world, I don't think, is going to sit there and call themselves uncultured, followed by their actual race.
Mhm.
So Uncultured is a piece that I can do. Doesn't matter if I'm intoxicated, if I'm tired. That's a poem that I know like the back of my hand. So I'm not going to have my phone on me.
Well, you know what time it is then, since you're talking about it.
I have to do Uncultured.
You got to do it.
All right, so those of you that don't know, this poem right here, like I said, this explains to you why I call myself Uncultured Asian. Uncultured goes deeper than what you may hear. To be uncultured does not mean I'm not cultured. Simply put, at birth, I was robbed of my identity, robbed at the chance to know my roots that may have branched out to bigger gardens and pastures that may have enriched my spirits. See, I was robbed. I was forced into a culture that didn't look like me, that didn't breathe like me, that didn't move like me. That wasn't me. See, I was robbed. I became this being always searching and searching for something, not knowing what existed, searching and searching, not knowing what I was going to find. What the hell was I looking for? Whatever it was, it definitely wasn't around me. I couldn't touch it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't hear it. I couldn't smell it. But let me tell you, I could feel it. I knew deep down inside of me, there was something that moved me, soothed me, comforted me when I needed comforting, healed me when I needed healing, loved me when I needed loving, guided me when I needed guiding, motivated me when I needed motivating. But see, I was still robbed. See, I wasn't white enough to be Caucasian. I wasn't Asian enough to be Chinese. I wasn't Native enough to be indigenous. I was just left to being me, alone, the only one of my race, but surrounded by those culturally insiders I didn't belong. And even though these cultures ran through my veins, it wasn't me. We're not the same. But I finally found what I was searching for. It took me 30 years to realize in my search, I found me. I adapted who I was. I culturalized myself. I took myself out the very idea of being molded to fit into anyone's version of culturalism. I became uncultured in my own rights. I allowed myself the freedom to culturalize myself based off my own values, morals, and beliefs. I became the uncultured Asian.
That still gives me chills when I hear it. Like literally, it gives me chills when you hear it.
Yep. In that poem, just to let you know, my stage name used to be Dat Girl BG. And when I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like who am I? What do I want to tell people? Who am I? And I'm just like, I wrote Uncultured, and then that coined my name, Uncultured Asian. It's
Well, I absolutely love your name. And of course, I love the way you say it at the end. You're like, uncultured. It's like, yeah.
like signing a piece.
I'm such a
It's
super
like,
fan of yours.
and I do that because when you first go on a mic, you may introduce yourself, right? And then you do your piece. Tell them who you are again so that now they can find you because they may not remember. You just gave them all this stuff in your piece. And by saying your name again, they remember.
Absolutely. There's some, what is it? One of the principles of sales, I think, that you have to state something 3 times, right?
Yep.
To get memory. So I hadn't thought about that, but
Mhm.
you're absolutely right. And we all want to sell books and have that recognition. So it's applicable, even as an artistic pursuit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody
Signing up.
that spent any time in a room listening to you talk can see that you have a fire in you. What drives you? What motivates you?
Everything around me. And I think mainly it's confining yourself to years to not voicing anything that you felt, right? Just being that people pleaser and from a child being in a family where children are to be seen and not heard and only speak when spoken to, and that's bleeding into your adult life, you not having certain conversations because you're going to make someone feel uncomfortable, or you're not going to be accepted by an individual or groups of people. And so now that drive is everything that I've been holding on for these years and getting it out and just being unapologetic to however someone's going to feel or think.
Yeah.
Just do it.
You have
And then
such
once
a
I did that, I
fantastic,
found that I was being more accepted than I ever was in my entire life.
which is amazing. I mean, and to me, you have such a fantastic sort of like, I am woman, hear me roar vibe about you. I cannot imagine you in a situation where you did not feel free to express yourself, because the way you do it now, it's like oxygen, it's as natural as breathing, it seems like. So can you talk some about what led, or what was going on in those situations where you could not be free? Did you grow up in a family where artistic expression was not really encouraged? Can you talk some about that?
Yeah, so coming up, my mother was very young when she birthed me. And she gave me up for adoption to my paternal great grandmother. Okay, who was very elderly when she took care of me. So you guys can only imagine the type of household I was in. She was Sioux Native American. She was very spiritual. She practiced Shintoism. She also converted over to Christianity. Okay, so having those two, um, a child is to be exactly what it is. So, you stay out of grown folks' business, if you will. And then she ended up passing away, unfortunately, when I was 13. Around the same time I wrote that poem. I had moved to the DMV area, and where my mother was then married to a guy that was a Muslim. So I was now into a Muslim household, forced into that religion. And that religion has taught me a lot, but still silenced, right? So, you just grow up getting into that. Anything that you feel, you just hold that in. You're afraid of telling anyone exactly how you feel, when it comes to having a person that you want to identify with and it's not around you. Who do you talk to, right? Do you talk to the person that does not look like you, that does not have the same blood flow that you have running through your body? So it makes it hard when you don't have anyone to identify, when you're being taught that you need to be quiet like a child should be. So all those things, and it bleeds into relationships as I got older, where, I just wanted to appease the person that I was with. And when you address certain things about, your poetry or your artistry, and that's not accepted there either, then, no one really accepted art. I grew up in, you know, those type of families where, you live paycheck to paycheck if there is a paycheck. You are in poverty. Meals are scarce, and you have those things. So it's like, how you feel doesn't matter. It's what you do, is what I was raised up on. But now, as a 41-year-old biracial female, now all those emotions is bleeding out. So y'all getting all that.
So you were in a small town in the South,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, what was it that made you feel othered? Um, was it your grandmother being or great grandmother being like Native American? Like, what was it that made you feel different than those around you?
Because she was different in her community.
Mhm.
I went to a school that was predominantly white, and they always made fun of me because, how small towns are. If you're familiar, everyone knows everyone, knows their secrets, and they know where you came from. And, they would say bad things about my mother, so
So you went through some shit. You went through some
yeah,
shit.
just a little bit.
Just a little, just a little. So, writing that first poem at age 13, obviously you had that voice from a very young age. Did you continue to write through high school?
Yes. Yep. I didn't start sharing until I was about 36.
So talk about that 20-year span. What was going on? You were writing, but not really perform. What was going on in there?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like in relationships, your work isn't accepted, right? Um, so if those that you really trust in your life don't accept your work, then I had that mind frame that no one else could accept my work. So I stayed stagnant until that relationship was no more. And I flourished after that.
When did you reach a point that you realized that there's a difference between someone who really just doesn't understand poetry and doesn't care for it, between that and someone who actively is trying to subjugate what you're doing, right? Because those are different things.
Yeah. I would say probably about 4 years ago. Okay. The my current boyfriend does not like poetry. It's not his thing. He does not love it. Um, he doesn't have no favorite poet or anything like that, right? Like he's not the one for it. Um, but he buys me a poetry book. He'll ask me if I wrote anything. He'll ask me if he can hear poems, ask me if I did any lives, when's the next feature, when's the next performance, right? He's very in tune to what I'm doing as poetry. So, and I understand that you don't have to like poetry in order to support someone, right? It's those little tidbits of information that you can ask, just, um, finding out exactly what they're going into. It's just like one of your friends that you meet and like they may be interested in like watching paint dry, and that's your friend, you love your friend, and you're not the type to watch paint dry, but they love it. That's like their big thing. So you're going to ask them, what color paint did you watch dry today? When's the next paint drying events coming up? Are you going to attend? Are you going to a paint watching con? Right? It's those type of things. Just asking questions about someone's interest. It's like common the commonality of it all, of life and friendships and network building, that it seems that a lot of people have a hard time doing. And I say that to say, because I've had a lot of individuals that have a hard time knowing what it takes to be that friend or to network with you.
So learning that, right? Learning that, hey, someone can love me and not really be all that interested in poetry, but they still love me, they still care about me. Having
Yep.
that gain that understanding, then looking backward, at past relationships and situations, did that change your viewpoint at all of the way you perceived those prior situations and relationships?
Yes, because what one thing I realized is between then and now is then I assumed a lot. I assumed this person should do this person should do that. Now I'm more so, this is what's important to me, and I would appreciate it if you would be there. Right? It's letting someone know what something feels to you, and not just assuming that they know, because not everyone may get that.
I love that you've achieved that wisdom, right? Because it's one thing to achieve some knowledge for now. It's another thing to take that knowledge and look backward and let that
Yeah,
evolve your viewpoint.
yeah, that'll make you go crazy.
That's some heavy, deep stuff, man. That's some heavy, deep stuff. So I think we need some more words from you, my friend.
Okay, you want to hear something new?
Give it up.
Okay, I'll give y'all my new piece because I haven't said it yet. So it's called Pieces of Them. And this is for anyone that has ever lost someone, or for someone that has not lost someone, but has known someone to lose someone. Okay. New shit. Okay. Pieces of Them. If you ever lost someone, you lost a piece of you. And if you ever knew one to experience a loss, you also lost a piece of them. And I know where that piece goes. It resides inside the memories of all those photos, those still moments that was captured by fingers that strum love, fingers that provided comfort when we felt undeserving of, fingers that flickered light as we crawled through the naked night, fingers that fed life into the breath we inhaled. Now, without them, we must learn how to exhale. And most of us can't. And those that can don't want to, we still desire to feel those embraces that held our heart before it was torn apart. Now we lay in a depleted emotional battle, bedded with rusty nails, prickling skin, endless splinters, the core of us congested with pain and brokenness. But we still have those momentums when our sadness can still crease a smile. And to just think, the presence was what gave us life. And our life is what drove their fights, no longer standing in human form by our sides, but promoted to our angelic guides. And they say we never lose our loved ones completely. So death cannot take everything from us because really they now live through us. No matter if our minds are sleeping in dark masses, are dancing in light patches, see, darkness and sunshine somehow are the same. Just as our cries and laughter carry the exact flame, and we framed all of their remembrances to be used in our daily crevices of conversations. A line to let them speak through us, showing the impacts, inspiration, and influence. And although their absence puts a toll on our mental strain, it's the stories we share with others that becomes their gain. They remain present in everything we do, everything we say, the interest we embark, the passions and purpose that sparks the food for our soul, the places they never got to go, the love that we hold. It's the lessons that they taught, we now teach. It's the faith that they sought, we now preach. It's the slips that they fought, we now reach. Because if you ever lost someone, you lost a piece of you, but you gained every part of them, and that's what's going to get you through Uncultured.
Well, you did it. You made me cry. We're not even halfway through.
I just want to give y'all my new piece, though.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, my recently I seen my boyfriend lost his parents 6 months apart from each other, right? And I've seen the process, and it triggered me a lot because I recalled when I lost individuals, the same things was happening. The first thing you do is start looking through photos, start going through photos. It's like that's where you find them at, right? That's where you find all your memories at, the importance of photos, right? And that's where that piece came from too, was just having to sift through them and show something,
That's an amazing piece. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I appreciate that. I'm sorry for your tears.
No, that's good, right? That's good. You hit me in my heart. That's what I want. That's what we love. So talk about the difference between regular spoken word and slam and your experience of both of those worlds.
Okay. I don't slam. I've never slammed, not professionally. But I have been to many slams. Slams to me, it seems to me that it's always whoever has the saddest story, whoever has the most messed up story to tell is typically the winner of it, right? But it has a very different skill set away from that, right? Most of slam poets I know, they would have these poems first that they memorize, right? But say it's a slam where it's like 3 minutes, but that piece is like 3 minutes and 23 seconds. Now they have to shed off 23 seconds of this poem. So not only do they have to memorize a poem, they have to memorize a poem that they cut also. and it's a whole entire skill set. So like I give it to slam poets. Like they have to go through a lot in order to get their poem. There's so many rules and intricacies involved in it. Like I give them to you. Spoken word is a little bit different, you know. We're not given time restraints that much, you know. Most poets don't have a poem longer than 5 minutes. I shouldn't.
But now you do spoken word competitions, right? Because I remember talking with you about one that you were going to go to. I think it was in Nashville, maybe. So you do
Yeah.
competitive stuff, and I guess I misunderstood the different because I really have not
No,
been to.
that was gonna be my first one. It hasn't
Oh,
happened yet. It's
oh,
supposed to be happening. You know, they kind of put like a pause on it. Yeah, so I'm still waiting for that. But I was gonna do it because it's in a boxing ring, y'all. Like for the slam poets in here, like, have y'all ever did a slam in a boxing ring?
that's a trip. Wow, boxing ring. I mean, it seems
And it was
appropriate.
yeah, and it was for a good cause. It's in Nashville. Yeah. Oh, he said they did in the boxing ring. Yeah, and that's what I want to do. Like, I didn't know this was going to be something that's on my bucket list, but it is now. Now that it
Nice.
was presented to me.
Now
um,
you're in, like you said, you were in Maryland, right? And then that's in Nashville. That's a drive, right?
oh,
So
that's a
how far do
plane
you normally travel for the events that you're participating in?
here. I think the longest that I ever went was like an hour to go to an open mic, other than like places that I was already there or planned on being there for something.
Oh,
I don't know what I said, but my Alexa just started playing music. But yeah, like if I was already planning to go to Philly, then but Philly's not that far from me too. So, but I haven't I did have went to Philly and I have went to New York and New Jersey. But other than that, I haven't did poetry in other states.
It sounds like you've got a pretty vibrant, opportunity and community there where you are.
Yeah, it is. It's the DMV keeps me busy. If it's nothing in DC, it's something in Maryland. If it's nothing here, then there's something in the VA.
Now, how much overlap is there between our online poet community that we see versus who you're meeting in day-to-day life?
Surprisingly, right? I see some bomb poets that do not have social media. Like no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, no TikTok. They just don't do social media. Right. And the only times that you can get to see them is if you go to an open mic that they're at.
Wow.
They don't have that. Yeah. Not everyone has social media, believe it or not.
A few, right?
Yeah, but it's it was very interesting. It's this big host, right? That, you go on their Instagram and they got like 10, 20,000 followers, right? Um, and you look at mine's, I got like what, a little over 3,500 followers on Instagram, and they're coming to me to connect them with poets off of Instagram because that's where they need to improve their stuff on. They do good with, in-person events, but they don't know us. And I think that is like so interesting. Like, here are these individuals that I'm looking up to and want to follow, and I want to network with them and know who they know. And now it's flopped. Now they want to know who I know because they see that my Instagram presence is way higher than what theirs is. But that's networking.
Is it ever a kind of funny moment for you? Because this always gives me a funny moment. Is it ever a funny moment for you when you meet up with people that you know in regular life but you see them more frequently in Instagram world, and then you see them in real life. And is that ever kind of a funny moment of processing for you? Because it's always funny for me.
So those that I met on Instagram first and then met in person, what I liked about it, it wasn't that bridge of trying to get to know that person, right? You hear their poetry, so you know where they're coming from, you know what their thought process is. It's just that little button that you had to press that say, yeah, we're a family now, right? But I've seen individuals too that are one thing on Instagram or any social media platform, and you meet them in person and the vibes are not there too. I have I have met that. So I got both of them. You know, you learn that a lot of people are very much introverted individuals, and when they're on the screen, it's another way. You know, and I get it because the world that we live in, yeah.
Well, I think the poetry festivals are such a great opportunity. Like, we were talking about before we started the show, like, you're going to be coming here, this big poetry festival, all the people that we all see on, Instagram, and we're going to have this opportunity to connect in person. And, I think it's just a really beautiful and exciting thing. And it'll be interesting to kind of see what creativity can come out of that, what interesting writing will pop up out
Yeah,
of
because we'll
that.
be witnessing it from each other. I think it's a beautiful thing. This is my first poetry festival. I've had opportunities to go in the past, but like this is one that I'm actually like, putting into rotation because I request PTO for this. That means I'm taking X. These ain't days off. These, you're not allowed to call me.
I love it when you do your lives, when you're like on break and on lunch, You're like, this is like this gal never stops, right? If
Oh,
it's
because so if y'all don't know, right? So I do most of my lives from work while I'm working on my lunch break. And I don't know what happened, but they changed my Wi-Fi at work. So now I can't get service in the office no more now. Like I used to not even Wi-Fi, like I used to be able to get like all my bars will be up on my phone. And now ever since they switched to Wi-Fi, I can't get it. I think they did it intentionally just so I won't have to go on live. So now I have to wait till I'm home.
really stinks when work,
I go on my
when real
car.
life
I
intrudes
know.
on your
They
pleasure,
they
right?
really are some haters. Right. And I like to do it at work because I like to feel like I'm getting paid for my poetry,
There you
you
go.
know? But
So
not no.
can I give you a letter and you choose a poem that begins with that letter?
Oh, that's fun. I like that.
Okay, okay. Let's go with letter U for uncultured.
Okay, let me see. So, okay. So on culture is my only one that starts with a U.
All right, so how about A?
But hold on, but I have a line in it. Um it comes up with lines, right? And it says understanding our words.
There you go.
You want to know
Let's,
that poem? Yeah,
heck
that's
yeah.
not the name of the poem, but all right, this one is called The Power of a Pen. I haven't done this in a minute. All right. Do you understand the power of a pen? Does your chosen words make emotions bend? Does your wordplay and metaphors provide hidden messages? Do you hide your thoughts in between fragments and run on sentences? Are you more comfortable being vulnerable on a stage among strangers than the ones you really need to exchange what your mental clouds holds in locked chambers? Do you understand the power of a pen? Does the paper you pour into see more of a friend than what was really sent? Do you use notebooks and file drives to carry all the tears you couldn't hold with your eyes? Does your pen know more about you than the one you claim you completely trust? Do you understand the power of a pen? How your content brings others healing, but it's misleading because it triggers perceiving what you're really releasing. And that pen reminds you what you're actually feeling inside. Like, nah, you thought you was going to hide. But see, I do understand the power of a pen. Time and time again, it doesn't matter how much we write, no matter the types, that pen will bleed its insight, leaving evidence of relevance of who we really are, snitching, disclosing our weakness and fears, telling ourselves all the bullshit we didn't want to hear. But once our hand cradles it in between our fingers, it pours out everything that was lingering, that we didn't want to see when we look into the mirror. A pen will make us look deep into our reflection, laying out every rejection, deception, and confession. So let me ask you again, do you know the power of a pen? Because I know the power of mine, but do you know the power of yours? Uncultured.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
I forgot about
So
this poem too.
one of the things that I absolutely love about you is that you have this cadence that I don't think I've heard anybody else that has it quite like you. And I can't decide. It's like you like a cross between a preacher and an auctioneer with this like amazing fire cadence, right? And it's uniquely you and it is fire. How did you develop that cadence? So did you start out with that? Did it just grow into it?
No,
What happened with
I
that?
wanted, yeah, I wanted to sound like one of those poets, right? Like, you got the little painter's hat thing, and I'm wearing black now, but like all black, and you speaking that poet dialect. Um, but then I have a poet friend that said, "Just be you. Stop trying to be you." I mean, stop trying to be everyone else. Just be you, because no one could be you more than you. And that's what I did. So I just started going on stages and just speak like I'm just trying to speak to a person.
I'm
Yeah, you
sorry, y'all.
know.
I'm at my mother's and my daughter's here and her boyfriend, and I'm like, y'all, dudes, I'm on camera. I'm doing the show. Seem quiet.
They must start doing cartwheels behind you. It'll be okay. It's fun.
But seriously though, you really truly do. You have a unique cadence and tone that it's you. I mean, you are the only one. I know there's on Poets Playground in the morning, right? There's always the recording of, can you identify this poet? And I'm always wrong, right? I'm always wrong. I listen and I think, oh, is that so and so? And then no, it's not. But yours, I would know you anywhere. You just have a really unique tone and voice, and it's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, you're coming out with a book, right? You're working on a book.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll tell y'all. So it's called Broken Glass Everywhere.
Ooh,
Yep, and
yes.
I'm partnering up with my boyfriend's actually a professional photographer. That's what he do. We both do things we do both have an artist form that we do as a supplementary income. So his is photography. And so he's a phenomenal photographer. So we're waiting until well, now, it's not so cold out anymore. So we're about to make some plans to go take these photos, because let me tell y'all, I'm born in June. I don't do the cold. at all.
So
It's the
are
spring.
you, I hope that you're going to do like an Audible version of your book. I
So
hope that's the plan.
actually, so currently right now, I just went live, I believe 2 days ago on Spotify. So you guys can start finding my poetry on there. So I'm integrating all my poetry on there. So if you want to stream that, just type in Uncultured Asian, it's right there.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah. So right now I have what I have. I have Uncultured. I have Uncultured on there. I have They Call Me a Poet. I have yeah, Broken Pieces isn't on there. Yeah, I know it's those two that I have on there. Oh, um, How the Earth Rebirthed Me
Ooh,
is on there. Yeah.
I definitely am going to check that out. That sounds amazing. Um,
Mm.
in fact, I think we need to hear you speak that one. But before you do, let me ask you a question because you were talking earlier about the teaching that you're doing with disadvantaged children. Can you talk a little bit about your social justice causes and where you're putting your time and your effort into the community?
Okay. Yeah. So I read, you know, even though I go to open mics and I support a bunch of open mics here locally, I don't want to be an open mic poet. What I'm trying to do is place poetry in places that it doesn't initially you hear from, right? Um, so what I did was I started volunteering. Well, how the museum started, that's where I do the workshop at on Saturday mornings. How that integrated, I was asked to help out at this community event. And I noticed there were children in a room that I had to go into, and it was an expression place where they were just supposed to express how they felt. None of the children wanted to speak, you know. But it was one specific student in there that just was just started rapping, right? And then the instructor kept getting angry that that's how he was expressing himself was through rap. Um, so I had asked the director what that group was, right? And she said, "Oh, it's an expression group." I said, "They ain't really expressing themselves." I said, "Do I just asked her, just a question, right? I was just curious if any of those students were into like poetry or in creative writing." And she said, she thinks so. And then I told her, I was like, "Well, I'm a spoken word poet." I said, "I would love to sit in and try to boggle their brains one day." And she was like, "How about next Saturday?" And I came in and fast forward, I end up taking over the program. I end up creating a curriculum, explaining to them what poetry is, just teaching the kids how to express themselves in a positive manner. Whether they're allowed to come up there and do poetry on how they feel poetry should be represented, right? It may be through singing, it could be through rapping, through spoken word. Even like dramatic movements, if they didn't feel like talking, they can act it out. They can do monologues, right? Just expressing those forms. But I do teach the different forms of poetry.
That is
You know?
absolutely fantastic. I love that you're doing that with the kids. One of the things that I think is so amazing about what we're all doing, and this is no diss on the other arts at all, because the arts, we all need all of the arts, right? But um, painting, sculpture, drawing, I mean, those things take materials, which are not, cheap. Music, same thing. And typically there
Yeah.
are lessons, right? With what we do, all you need is your pen and your paper,
Oh
and you can
yeah,
express
and
yourself.
sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes you don't even need a pen and paper. One of the what I'm learning is their best activity to do is blackout poetry. Do any of y'all know in the comments what blackout poetry is? You know blackout poetry?
I don't. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. Let's see. Does anybody know?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
would love to hear it because I love learning more.
So blackout poetry is, so I'll go to the thrift store and I'll go buy a book, an old book, and I'll just, take out a page out of each one. I'll rip it out. I'm so sorry, whoever the author is going to be. But I take it out and I give each page to a student. So what they do is they will actually black out a lot of the words to only leave words of what they would want the poem to say, from the very first line to the very end. So everything has to be blacked out. And so that just teaches them on how to write an actual poem and look for those words.
That is fantastic. So,
Yeah.
what was it like the first time that you introduced that to your Saturday group?
Oh, it was not good. It was like, who is this Asian woman? You don't know my life and all this, but I have children of my own. And so I know the patience that we have to have. And I just kept going because, something in me felt as though that if I kept going, eventually they'll warm up to me. Like, I'm dope. I already know that. So y'all gonna like me one day. And that day has came, and several of them, I can say this, have been on y'all platforms. I talk about all of you guys in the workshops, and several of them, once they turned 18, then I've invited them to come on Instagram to hear that. Yeah.
How much of the connection that you were trying to establish with this group of kids, how much of that struggle to get there was them realizing that you see them, you hear them, and you see them, like you truly hear and see, and how much of it was them feeling a sort of kinship with you because of anything that you may have shared with them?
Yeah, it's a two-way street, right? They don't know my story. I don't know their story. It takes a while for them to open up. And sometimes, just as in any relationship, if you want the other party to open up to you, you're going to have to open up. So it was my vulnerabilities that I had to express, especially when it came to abandonment, not being unwanted, being forced into homes and believing in their cultures and their traditions that I think provided that balance between us two forming a relationship.
And so, how old of a group of kids is this that you're working with?
13 to 17.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Definitely ages that like need some creative outlet, need some, some good positive, you
Yeah,
know.
and it wasn't easy.
Well, and honestly, I mean, it is a testament to you that you're able to connect with kids of that age who typically are disconnecting from adults, right? That's the age where okay, we're ready to unplug. All of y'all are just idiots and we got our own agenda here.
Yeah.
It's a credit to you that you were able to get that. That's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's brought on other opportunities doing that. Did not happen right away, but it did eventually happen. Like I recently partnered up with two organizations, um, Reality Coach Mentoring and millionpath.org. They are both in a community dealing with mental health in the youth, right? So I'm partnered with them and I speak at several of their events.
If someone who would watch this video is interested in supporting the museum's program, because I'm assuming they're a nonprofit, most museums are, how would they fund that? What is that program?
Sandy Spring Museum.
Sandy Spring Museum. And that's in Baltimore, Maryland?
No, that's in Howard County. It's on the outskirts of it. It's in Sandy Spring, Maryland.
So Sandy Spring Museum Youth Enrichment Program. That is so fantastic that you're donating your time. Because as I have seen watching you on Instagram, you're always busy. I mean, just doing work and your poetry stuff. Your time is full. So that you give your time like that, it is really admirable. It's amazing. And I have mad respect for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So I think we need to hear that Earth poem you were talking about.
Oh, the earth rebirthed me.
Yeah.
So like this poem came about like, all right, y'all know that song by Eminem and Lil Wayne, where they be like, I'm gonna pick up the world and drop it on a fucking head. That's where I got this poem from, though. Hold on, I'm looking for it. Okay, how the world rebirthed me. Okay. There you go. All right. For the majority, the world took me on journeys that I never asked to be a part of. I never received invitations, yet alone RSVP into any of their situations. It dragged me to parties and sometimes forced a +1 disguised as a friend, but turned enemy. The world gave me trauma that I couldn't even identify. I was walking on its plateaus with a pair of glass eyes, and my glass kept a kaleidoscope of a murky London fog. So I couldn't clearly see their true colors. Hell, I couldn't see my true colors. My veins were filled with anger. My pupils were lined with danger. My blood elevating to a deadly standard. My bones converted over to burning steel. My mind lost the ability to feel. The world was against me, and if I wasn't already in it, I would think it left me. And the world got tired of me blaming it on my mishaps and misfortunes, tired of my distortions, of my messed up values and morals, tired of me accusing it every time I had to recollect my losses. Every time I made bad decisions and the wrong choices, it knew I had to change the way I thought. It had to teach me a lesson because I needed to be taught. And when I thought I was bigger than it, it snatched me up by my ponytail and submerged me in the deepest depths of its veil, drowning every blame, everything that I allowed my brain to claim. The world just wanted me to change my ways. It wanted me to be more positive, walk with the prerogative to bask in all of my inner promises. Because I needed to understand that the world belonged to me too, regardless of what I had to experience to get me through. Just because my upbringing wasn't attractive on paper did not mean I needed to be in favor of the same life that they told me to trace on paper. The world just wanted me to be a better player. And when I emerged out of its depths, I came out with an entire new complex. I was fertilized with kindness and compassion. My mindset sustained more substance than I could ever imagine. I was now able to nourish and replenish my being and accelerate and transfer all that I breathed in. The world was just preparing me for teaching. A future ancestor was all it was seeking in culture. Thank you.
Brilliant. 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 I can't believe we've gone an hour. I feel like we just sat down like 2 minutes ago and started talking. I have looked forward to this for so long. I hope that you have had fun as well.
Yes, definitely.
You have been a fantastic guest. Before we close out the show, is there any final thoughts that you would like to share?
So I can tell you what I have going on.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so there's 2 nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch me on poets_playground_DMV. All of the Poets members, who is Geechee Girl, Lyric Hunter, Angel Kim, Black Noise Poetry, and Veronica J are all going to go for battle for the Poet of the Month. So make sure you tune in to that to support them. Some very dope poets there. Thursday, you can always find me every other Thursday performing at Galactic Panther in Alexandria, Virginia, with Artie Fox and Brown Paper Doll. So that is that Thursday. I have some events coming up in April is real heavy for me, right? You know, other than the poet thing with Ja, right? But on the 6th of April, I'm actually been asked to host. As y'all should know that I'm the host of my platform, Other People's Poetry. So I've been asked to host an OPP segment for one of these big poetry battles that they have coming up in DC. And that's on the 6th of April.
Fantastic.
And that's what and follow me on Spotify, because I did that for a reason.
And what is that handle? Uncultured Asian?
Uncultured Asian.
Fantastic.
No one but me has it. It's a trademark name.
Well, you guys, we have come to the end of our show, and I think I just want to say that, you know, in this world where it seems to be so important to define like who we are and what label we wear and all this, you know, all of these things, I think we all could benefit every now and then from being a little more uncultured. Yeah. Thank you.
I like that.
Thank
That
you
was
so
so
much.
dope. Whisper, we love you. Thank you for this.
Thank
I
you
love
guys.
you
It's been,
too.
this has been the Heart of the Artist Catalyst, a bomb co-host.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. Like, it's been amazing getting to know you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, everybody. Find us on YouTube, like and follow The Heart of the Artist 143. Thank you.
Peace and love.